In the beginning of World War I, Germany thought that the war would be a quick war. It's worth noting that their artillery at the beginning of World War I did not have the recoil system that the French later developed. Consequently, German artillery troops were located much closer to the front line than that of some other nations. What this meant was that the artillery crews needed armament to defend themselves against cavalry and other attacks that sometimes happened. A German soldier on an artillery crew was tasked with pulling the cannon around, loading the gun, carrying ammunition, etc. That meant he didn't have the capability for a full-sized rifle, not if he was going to perform his tasks. Prior to the war, Germany had experimented with mounting scabbards on the cannons in which a full-sized rifle could be carried, but that basically did not work out. So in 1914, what the German High Command came up with was a long-barreled German Luger that could be equipped with a stock. This shoulder stock pistol is known as the Lange Luger, or the artillery Luger. This is the holster for a Lange Luger. The holster on the back has a wooden shoulder stock. It came with a magazine pouch that holds 2 rounds, or 2 magazines. The gun is accessed. You could carry this on your shoulder strap. That was the best way of carrying it. The gun is accessed by pulling this out. Removal of the gun. This is an all-matching TWM 1917. Show you a close-up of the sight. Hopefully that'll focus. The sight, euphemistically, focus. No. The sight is marked up to 1,000. I think that's in their dreams. The safety mechanism, standard magazine release. Remove the magazine. That's a pretty good overview of the pistol. Later, of course, in the event of combat, you could use the pistol as a pistol. But if you had a couple of minutes to spare, you could fasten the bottom protector, flip it back, bear with me, I'm one-handed here, and affix the shoulder stock to the mounting lugs as shown on other videos. This is a first test firing done with the pistol in January 2017. Full magazine, standard P08 magazine fired, 0 malfunctions observed. This is a reproduction of a World War I Luger Trommel Magazine, otherwise known as a snail drum. Currently it's loaded with 115 grain full metal jacket, white box type ammunition, as required by the maker. It holds 32 rounds. Let me go on record as saying it is a total pain to load. What you do is you slide this lever over to this position. It's a heavy spring. Then you latch it in. Then you turn the gun around and use this loading tool, which itself is not cheap. And basically she goes on like this. I gotta put the camera down, bear with me a second. You slide the loading tool down. It has a, well, I'll call a magazine release for want of a better phrase, very similar to that of a 45 ACP. When it latches in place, then using this handle, you pump it, and that'll push down the cartridge over the heavy spring pressure. You continue the process of loading round one at a time until the indicator tells you that it's full. Right now we know it's full because the catch is out, and even though the catch is pulled up, she is still stuck at, and I'm hoping you can read these numbers online, it's still stuck at 32 rounds. It's marked different locations as to how many rounds. If it's not showing up on your screen, right here we have another number, which is 27. And down here we have a 22. Underneath the lever here, see 22, and going around we have 17 right here. Down here we have 12. When the indicator, as each shot is fired, this lever moves around. If you watch Forgotten Weapons, Ian has an excellent video on these. I'll be using this in concert with the artillery Luger. In World War I, the soldiers sometimes, depending on what army, spent weeks on the front lines. The British Army rotated the troops 4 days on, 4 days in the rear, and 4 days of R&R. However, other armies, such as the German armies, their manpower reserves were lower, and they often did not have the luxury of a 4-day rotation. I've got a target set up 25 yards away, and in 1918, the German Army came up with the Trommel Magazine, which I believe you've already seen a clip of, which was intended for use with the artillery Luger, but the combination of the 32-round magazine and a shoulder stock was so attractive, the German assault troops or shock troops also began using it. In the trench, it was much handier than a rifle. At short range, it was just as effective, and the Trommel Magazine was later included in the first iteration of the MP-18 submachine gun, which later replaced the artillery Luger as a weapon of choice for shock troops. After World War I, it's not loaded. After World War I, the artillery Luger was phased out. A few of them went to the German Navy, but basically you didn't see any more of them after World War I. There were a few still around, of course, at the beginning of World War II, but it was very rarely encountered. The normal Luger is what replaced it. Okay, let's put a round downrange. I've got a target 25 yards away. And let's see what... Okay, my slide is empty. My 7-round magazine is empty. I now swap to my 32 round. Here we go. I loaded. A good cheek load. As previously discussed, as the shots are expended, the counter rotates. Right now we have about 20 rounds left. Arrow is getting a little warm, but not uncomfortable. So from here I am hitting the target. We are empty. Trommel Magazine. Let's go take a peek at the target. Is this lethal? Yeah.